Hello, world. Patricia O'Connor, Frida Reba Darcy here with the Bonsai balcony. Currently, it is a beautiful day in Alameda. It is Wednesday. We have the Pacific Bonsai Expo just rolled through town, and it was awesome. I absolutely had so much fun, and the response from that show was also very nice. Can't wait for 2 years from now. Uh, Saw a lot of cool people that I'd seen a couple of years ago. Missed a couple of faces. Maybe we'll see you. Maybe we'll see you next time. Also, while I'm thinking about it, shout out. Tokyo is getting hit with a typhoon currently. So my thoughts are with you guys. This is Patricia O'Connor. I'm just going to waddle my way. And friend, what we're looking at, this is a big day for me. This is something this is my Ponderosa. This is a Yamadori. This is the Yamadori Ponderosa, y'all. And this is the Yamadori Ponderosa, y'all. And this thing was collected in Deadwood, South Dakota. It has been in our collection for a little over a year. And in that year, I changed the styling a little. Everything was heavily wired and way up here, like literally way up here. And I took advantage of all that great wiring and pulled all that stuff down into this shape. It stayed that way for a few months. Then I took this tree and overwintered it in Northern California so that it would get the proper cold winter climate that it needed to properly shut down so it didn't run itself silly. I hope that happened because I say that way, I still see it pushing out growth, which would a lot of times be an example of, hey, it's got so much vigor, it's just pushing out growth everywhere. But at the same time, this tree should have shut down by now and it's be kind of getting ready for winter. We shouldn't be pushing out new realms of growth. That's what a couple of years of will cause them harm from doing that. To head that off, I've done several things. One, overwintered it. My smaller ponderosas, I put in the freezer for 40 hours during the winter, off and on, until I accumulate 40 hours of at or around freezing, without freezing the pot. And that's how I get that cold winter stratification or whatever term we're gonna use. And hopefully that'll work. Seems to be working also. But another thing we did, besides taking up north, is while we had it up in Northern California, I had a well-known bonsai master, Peter T., whose garden this tree was staying in, and it was under his care and his caretaker's care. And while they had it, I had them put Japanese black pine grafts on it. This metal tag right here indicates which Japanese black pine the grafts or Scions came from, and they were put on there and grafted. I think there's about 6 of them here. Then they were covered in this bright light green tape to protect them from the sun, and they were also wrapped in permafilm, really tightly in permafilm. They look like little joints wrapped up. They really did. And they would just put a slit in the bark, in the skin, and they would open it up, and they would stick that wedge cut scion in there, and then they would wrap a little line of tape from that paraffin that they had left off around the base that they had just stuck it in. Japanese black pine grafts, when they're done by a master and they're not mistreated, you should be at about 50%. We had our issues. One, I hauled the tree up one end of California to the other, so I don't know about that. Two, we've had some killer heat spells. Three, the lighting rack that's still throwing heavy light on my shoulders right now came down on this area, but I couldn't see where it had touched anything. But I'm not putting it out. It's not, this is a big cross your fingers moment that I've been having for several months to see what's going to happen. But at a certain point, I was supposed to remove that tape and cut those lines, cut lines in the paraffin so that they could breathe, and then put the tape back on because continue to shield it from UV because they're tender. So now my instructions were to come November to remove the tape and lose the painter's tape. That is green painter's tape. Wouldn't have a hard time figuring out which brand that is if you were looking for green painter's tape at a hardware store. I don't know if you just grab that because green matches trees, or whether or not there's an advantage to that particular brand, but it rhymes with green frog, and so yeah. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to remove these pieces of tape. I'm going to try to free these guys from their paraffin a little bit more, and I'm not to remove any of the things that are on them. Also, I do know that at least one of them is trying to bust out and take over the tree on its own. So come hell or high water, I think we're going to have that. If we have nothing else, I think we will have that guy. Later, I will make a video of the results from what I've seen here. I'll just shoot a little 1 minute thing, and then I'll blow that over to Peter, and we'll make a judgment. You know, I kind of already thought about it, and I went, if I only have the one that I saw, could I make a tree of that? Yes, I think that I could. Also, I was specifically warned that whether or not I thought it looked, the graft looked good or bad or other, that I was not to make any hard, fast judgments or remove it or any of that. We're supposed to just at this point, we're supposed to let them all go. The brown ones and the green ones both. So, also might be worth mentioning, if they all took, we wouldn't keep them all, I don't think. If they all took, I would have been that would have been a cool thing to do, because we would have choices. But that also tells you what we're up against if we have one. In a video I just did a little while back, I was looking at a show hen Ponderosa that had been grafted with Japanese black pine, and it was beautiful. And the Ponderosa trunk was about that big around and about that high, and coming out of the top was a snaked Japanese black pine graft, which had several branches coming off of it, and the whole tree looked to me to be made off of that one graft. Very stunning, very convincing, very beautiful. That's also all your eggs in one basket, because at some point you will be cutting away all the Ponderosa foliage, and if anything happens to that one vein of living tissue, the tree's gone. So that's something to think about. Oh, I just removed two without meaning to. I think it came out. Yeah, and I think he's right about that. I think he's right about that by my not making judgments, because the one that I just said, we knew we have. Half of it looks that great, and the other half is hiding how good it looks. So right now I'm looking at a definite one, and 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 that are brown. But what we're going to do now is 1, 2, 3. Yeah, what we're going to do now is remove the paraffin film that still has them bound. What we had done before was remove enough of the paraffin film from those that they could breathe and get air. And now I'm going to have to move around camera, I believe, and and get a better knife to remove that paraffin from, because but I'm not supposed to untie it from the base. Okay. This is very exciting. This is one of several rites of passage. This graft feels like something happened. This graft feels very loose to me, like something may have hit it. No, I think I need a knife, Pat. All right. I'm gonna move off camera for just a second. I'll be right back. I wasn't quite as ready as I thought. We will do this with I'm gonna do that with this. I could have done it with the scissors, but I think this should be a little cleaner. All the cypress trees are looking really good. They're just slowly but surely exchanging their look from green to yellow to orange. Beautiful day here today. There's a lot of clouds, some clouds, just enough clouds, the kind of day that we get enough clouds to make it a really, really interesting day. And, here I'm in Alameda, which is, I'm right next to the water. If 2026, if you get a chance to come to the Bonsai Expos that we have in Oakland, haven't seen them now twice. It's every other year in Oakland, so they'll be back 2026, I believe. Haven't seen two of them. I would definitely recommend I can kind of see, you know, these feel fairly sturdy, I have to say. I can see where they anchored in here. And I say that because when I touched the one that didn't, I could really tell one that felt loose to me. And that's like 1 out of 6. So by contrast, I can tell that brown, green, or otherwise, most of them are very, very well anchored in. So it's got the paraffin off of that one, and I feel good about getting that off without hurting anything. I want to pull this off, and at the same time I don't want to put any tension. I don't want to put any tension on the graft itself. I want to make sure that I'm supporting it with one hand while I kind of peel away at the tape with the other. I think the way this will probably work is we'll probably go for another round of grafts and add something to that. And add something to that. Also, I will probably at the end of this exercise, at the end of the part that I'm working on now, I'll go and see how successful I will be at snatching camera. And that way I can move in here and show you up close and personal what I'm looking at. Otherwise, what you're seeing is probably just about as good That's what I'm seeing. These are just little, mostly brown tips that are covered in paraffin film. And like I said, if the one that I see that's taken off is the only one I end up with and none of these others do anything, then I could make a tree off that. I would probably choose not to, but I would have to weigh the expense of going and getting, hauling it maybe back up, or whether or not we're gonna import a bonsai master down here, you know, because all I would really need at that point would be one more, but we wouldn't come down there and do one more graft. We would do a bunch and see what took. Now, I saved the one that's taken off for last. I've watched people do this before on grafts that weren't successful, and as they cut them away, a lot of times they could tell where the fail happened. It either just didn't take, or it got too dry, or it got too hot. Or it started to rot at the same time. I saw several failed grafts just by watching videos of people doing this and watching their success on the other end. And you would see grafts that failed because they had taken off. They were beginning to callus over, beginning to generate needles, and they were, you know, everything was a go, but they rotted. They stayed too wet and they rotted. So. And I think I've even seen somebody remove a graft that didn't look good, but had they not removed it, when they removed it, it was taking, it was trying to bounce back. It's just that all the needles, you know what I mean? It looked like at the base that it probably would have budded out to me. I don't know. I don't want to say nothing to somebody else's live video, but I could see where that would be a possibility. I have pulled up things that I thought didn't root, only to discover that at one point they were trying as hard as they could to do what they wanted. I missed the bud, and it was the one that I was concerned with, and it did. That bud rotted at the part that I thought was loose. Wasn't where the graft was. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the graft is still solidly in there. That material rotted. There might be. I don't know. I can't see around here. Our living bud is this guy, and the rest of them. The rest of them look to me to have passed. And I'm looking at the bud site here where this one had been, and I don't know, it's up to what's left there if it wants to do something. Okay, oh no, I was just really in the way there. So what now, Pat? All right, what now indeed? Let me rotate this around to a way that would better service both of us. I think. Now, I'm going to fold up these legs that this camera is on, and we're going to go marching in, tripod and all. Now you can start to see those little brown cigarettes that seem to be taped to my bonsai tree. Over here, this one is brown, this one is brown, this one is brown. This piece of tape lines up with one that I think we lost. This one is the one, that green that's close to it. That's that, and it's been trying to come out of that wrapper for a minute. In the foreground, we've got one here, that one, and that one. Both look to be the same. So I'm gonna call this a 1, but we're gonna sit back and, we're not gonna do anything to those other guys. They're not hurting us. We're gonna sit back and make sure that's the case. And yeah, so that's us. We have a new branch to start with now. Okay, a couple of quick things about that. It's not a bad, if I were to keep that as our sole branch, that is not a bad branch. What we had to do was, this is where the bark is. So we weren't going to put a branch here and have that, we weren't going to put a scion there and that bark and have that work out. The farthest place back that we could possibly get something is out in here, and even that was kind of iffy. I think he did great to get that scion to take where he did. That is so far back to the base of the tree that we can build a tree base this far back, and all of this other stuff that extends 2 or 3 feet out in all those other directions. That's all future deadwood features. Future deadwood features. Yeah, I said that right the first time. Let it go, Pat. So yeah, I would say we got successfully 1 out of 6. I would also say whether that continues to hold true depends on our aftercare. But also, we're not without our trials and tribulations this year. Any one of our heat spells, any one of our prolonged rain spells, any other things going on, and the part where that light rat came down and kind of came down over here on its way over there could have taken out something, but I didn't see any damage to any of the buds then or now. But yeah, that's where we stand. 1 out of 6, we can build a Japanese black pine canopy out of that. I will probably look at scenarios by which I could get another graft or 2 on there. I don't think I necessarily need to overwinter this tree if I've got a thriving Japanese black pine graft. But I will keep you guys posted as I know more. This is probably, that's part of our deadwood feature, and I'm also looking forward to whenever this thing gets done. I'm going to put some stripes or some scions, not scions. I'm going to put some stripes or some deadwood features in this guy. Like and subscribe if you guys have not already. We've got a lot of really cool stuff coming up. I was just looking at our literati pine, and it needs a little bit of wiring. It needs a little bit of cleanup on the pot and the top of the substrate and the roots coming out of the bottom. And I need to change the position of some of those branches because they're getting a little heavy and they're getting a little saggy. So that's what's coming up there. We, of course, as you know, this is just me, just lusting over this Ponderosa. And there was some beautiful Ponderosas at that show, both in the show and for sale. And I could make a show out of it. I could have made a show out of that. You can see our deadwood features on this guy. Some of this stuff that's got Ponderosa foliage on it will be future deadwood. I hope just that. And at the same time, we've got some short needle Japanese black pine to take its place and keep this tree thriving. You can also see those dark spots on the tree where I removed the wire earlier. We were doing a lot of weeping, and I didn't think that was good. I think me plugging that up as much as I did even, I feel like that was a good call. Also, that much weepage tells us that that stuff in that tree is running. It hadn't begun to even think about slowing down. It's normally really thick vasculous, really thick viscosity sap is running a little lighter crude right now and is ready to go. And that's just what happens. And I'm concerned about that. Japanese black pines do not care. The mountain grown stuff, that concerns me about that. But that's why we're doing this also. Our next drop will probably be tomorrow. We've got another beautiful day coming at us tomorrow. And at some point, I'm also keep threatening to do this. We're also going to get to uncover that bag and see how well our graft have done, our air layer has done on that guy. So yeah, I appreciate you, Frida. Frida appreciates you, and thank you so much for watching.